الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر كبيرا الحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله العظيم بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم ربنا يا ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم، واهدنا ووفقنا إلى الحق وإلى طريق مستقيم ببركة القرآن العظيم وبحرمة من أرسلته رحمة للعالمين. واعف عنا يا رحيم، واغفر لنا ذنوبنا بفضلك وكرمك يا أكرم الأكرمين ويا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، السلام على المرسلين، الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة، ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون، نزلا من غفور رحيم. صدق الله العظيم. الفاتحة.
Dear friends, guests, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of the ICCGC Board of Directors and the ICCGC community at large, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to our 50th anniversary. We decided to hold this event, milestone event, here at our ICC. We didn't want to go somewhere else. It's because we want to show that our hearts is in the center. So it's a bit crowded, we'll have a good dinner, what have you, but we did not want to go outside the center for this. We have an exciting program for you tonight. I encourage you to look through the program you have in your hands. First, we are so grateful to Ambassador Mohammed Shakir Bey, who graciously accepted to be our keynote speaker tonight. We welcome him and his wife Susan. He will be introduced formally later on by ICCGC member, Brother Villatorlo. Now I would like to recognize a few of our guests and friends. Some of them did not show up, but we will mention some of them. We are honored to have with us tonight His Excellency the Consul General Elvir Risic from the Consulate General of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Sheikh Hassan Ali, I think he might be coming late. He is Imam and Director of Religious Affairs of the Mecca Center in Willowbrook, Illinois. Imam Yukopi, Imam Hassan tells me that he's going to come in, but he's a little bit late. He is the Imam of the Albanian American Islamic Center in Berkeley, Illinois. Dr. Amir Ofshina is a partner at Ice Miller Law Firm in Chicago, and currently he is the President of Congress of U.S. Bosniaks. If you keep applauding like that, it will be a long time. But I'll go fast, don't worry. Well, His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Sami Abu al-Ainin from the Consulate General of Egypt and Chicago and Midwest could not be with us tonight. He apologized last minute. He said he is with the Egyptian community in Wisconsin, so he's not here. We welcome the Othman family, Brother Talat Othman. He is the co-founder of the ICCGC and past board president. We also welcome the Tabahi family, Brother Falah Tabahi. He is an old ICC member and past board member. We have with us tonight a nice group from Iqra International Educational Foundation, Brother Shihab Khan and his staff. Where are they? Over there. You're welcome to come here, please. Dr. Tasneema Ghazi, we wish her full and speedy recovery. Allahumma ameen. We would like to recognize Sister Layla Diyar for her long services at the center. Unfortunately, she cannot be with us tonight. Now we'd like to thank few people, few entities, and a long list, but I'll go very fast, so don't worry about that. First, my special thanks to the members of the ICCGC Board of Directors for their dedication and for volunteering their time to serve the center and the ICC community. We have them throughout. Later on, we'll ask them to come down. Also, a heartfelt thanks to our Imam, Dr. Hazem Fazlich, for his services and continued commitment to serve the center, and for his working very hard tonight so that to make this event very successful. Our thanks to the principal of the ICCGC Sunday School, my wife Nuhada Buse, and the entire ICCGC Sunday School staff for their education and for educating our children. Thanks also to Imam Hazem and Dr. Muhammad Al-Ahari for running the Bosnian Saturday School at the center. A special thank you to the ICC Women Group. They have been doing a great job under the leadership of Sister Nadima Tanovic. Where's Sister Nadima? A special thank you recognize few people. Sister Zarina Izlizlich with us. Thank you so much. Dr. Rafat Musa and Sister Latifa Spanish. Where's Sister Latifa? We are so happy to see you, Sister Latifa, with us tonight. May Allah keep you in the best of health. Allahumma ameen. Thanks to Nuhad Buse and Omar Khalil, the co-chairs of the annual program lecture committee of the center. Inshallah, we'll have the lecture program to be resumed soon. A special thank you also to our sister entity, the Bosnian American Cultural Association, BACA, for their important role and for the wonderful work they do for our Bosnian community. Also thanks to the BACA Women Group. And here, I would like to mention 3 ladies who worked so hard to make sure that organize this very well. You go back to have dinner, you will see a wonderful job they have done. Sister Nafa Torlo, Sister Fata, and Sister Amira. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. Sister Nafa, I cannot thank you enough, Sister. I come here and she's ironing, sheets and doing this. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Special thanks to our brother Shaban Torlo and Noha Debose and Amira for selling the tickets. It's coming close, don't worry. Our sincere thanks and appreciation to our members and our generous donors, sponsors and supporters, specifically Dr. Imad and Sina Al-Manasir and family, the Nobani family, the Tabahi family, Brother Sayyid Husseini and family and Pharmacy One Plus, Brother Jawad, for the generous donations. By the way, if you like to donate, you have at the back of the program, it tells you how we like to donate if you like to donate. So we welcome any donations, any small one or big one, always appreciate it. Thank you so much. You can also mail a check to our center. Our special thanks to the Tabahi family, owners of Zad and Pita and Restaurants for providing the delicious food. Our also thanks for our brother Mufid Qaid.
Thank you.
And Sheikh Abu Hazim, Lutfi Akrabawi, for their continued volunteering services at the center. We really appreciate it. May Allah reward you for your good deeds. Our thanks to the many members of our community who volunteer their time to maintain the center and to keep it in good operating conditions. There's so many members, numerous to really count, but I'd like to mention only 3 people. Brother Chazim, Brother Anas, and Dr. Mahmoud Ali. Thanks also to our custodians and staff, support staff, Brother Rajab, Brother Izzat, and Ramiz. Finally, our thanks and appreciation to Officer Jason Broadway for her services at the center.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. So I was given a task by the board to recognize those who contributed to the success of the center. I was asked to do it in 5 minutes, and I was asked not to forget anyone. And also the board decided we're not going to be giving any flags or gifts or anything. We need to make this very special. So that's very easy task, so I guess. Okay, so in order to keep it within 5 minutes, I would start by saying I will recognize the 200 people that participated and assembled on September 8, 1974 to break ground. I would say in particular, I want to recognize Imam Kamel Abdovish, of course, Brother Talat Osman, and the board members who were wearing protective gear and shovel and hard hats. I will mention this: Najib Ali Khan, Ilyas Rustum Pashish, Ilyas Zinkic, Nasuh Khatib, and Mohsen Qarashi. But in fact, if I really want to recognize, I mean, there is honestly numerous people who supported the center, whether they supported it financially or through their efforts, helping in the construction, volunteering their time, their valuable time for religious, other duties throughout the center. I will name a few, some of them were mentioned before, but Imam Rafi Diab, of course Imam Mustafa Serj, the late Shaban Turlu Sr., Nizar Hassan, the late Suad Raiko, the late Bashir Tanovich, of course our sister Zarina Zvedovich, Sister Laila Diab, Sister Nadima, Sister Latifa Splashes. Okay. So, in fact, if I look at the audience, I know from my past 30 years involvement with the center that I know almost all the faces, and that I know everyone almost in the audience have contributed generously. As a matter of fact, many have what we call generational contribution, in which not only they contributed, but their family have did in the last 50 years. Their uncles, their parents, their grandparents. So how am I going to recognize that if there is no flags? Well, I guess the only way I can think of it that can beat that is that I'm going to ask the audience to read Surah Al-Fatiha and to pray to God subhanahu wa ta'ala that those who are mentioned and those who are not mentioned and we didn't know about them or I didn't know about them will get their true recognition on the day of judgment when it really comes. We pray that for those, their sins will be forgiven and they will be showered by God subhanahu wa ta'ala mercy, every single one of them, their parents, their grandparents, their kids, and their grandkids.
But anyway, why I'm here, to introduce my friend, Ambassador Mohammed Shacibay was born in Sarajevo, Yugoslavia. Both of his parents were doctors. He had left Yugoslavia due to the anti-communist politics that they were involved in there. They left Bosnia, or Yugoslavia at the time, moved to Turkey and lived in Libya for a short time and finally immigrated to the United States in 1967. They moved to a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, and in 1973 became U.S. citizens. Ambassador Mohammed Shacibay attended Tulane University in New Orleans on a football scholarship. Received a law degree from Tulane and eventually an MBA from Columbia Business School. He served as legal counsel to Standard & Poor and had a successful career as an investment banker.
Assalamu alaikum and greetings. I have a little bit of a presentation prepared, but Mr. Torla, Officer Torla, reminded me that when I was called upon to serve, I was called upon as a person who was born in Sarajevo in Bosnia. I was called upon as a Bosnian Muslim. I was called upon as a Muslim, and I was called upon as an American. That's the title. That's who you are. I've known you for 50 years. And you've been defending Islamic values, Bosnian customs and tradition. But you've also been defending your neighbors. You've been defending America. And that's something that has not been recognized enough. And some of that is our fault. Some of that is their fault, whoever is there. But some of it is our fault. And it's time that we write our own history and who we are. I would like to apologize to you for questioning your American identity and how that's linked to your Bosnian identity. He was a guy who spent years in a Hanoi prison camp. He was an American hero. And he confirmed that I was entitled as much to be an American and to espouse American positions as he was. I'm dressed a little bit informally tonight. That's because I just drove 5 days from the West Coast. So you'll excuse me. On the West Coast, I was busy in a documentary film that's being produced by a production company of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and I'll explain to you a little bit more what that's about, because it's about all of us. But I just want to make sure you understand how important it was for me to be here with you. And tonight, I'm not really here to lecture you. When I started my diplomatic duty on behalf of Bosnia, I was a very young man, a very successful investment banker. And when I got to know this community, I was a young boy. Now all of a sudden, I find myself being called a senior citizen. And when I look in the mirror, that's the only time I recognize it. Otherwise, it just doesn't hit me. And when I look in the faces of some of my friends here, then I recognize how we have all aged. But my purpose here tonight is to not lecture, but to provide you with a bit of history that might die with me sometime. So I hope some of you will remember this, because I may not be here to give you that same lecture in the future. And it's important because the history of us, the history of we, is not only the history of Bosnia, it's the history of America, and most importantly, I hope, it's not only the future of America, it's also the future of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The events in Ukraine tell me how poorly we have been treated.
Yeah.
The events in Ukraine tell me how we have been defined by others and not allowed to define ourselves. So because we are in a mosque in Chicago, the United States, even though I served as Bosnia's ambassador and foreign minister and several other roles, I will always make sure I emphasize the American part. And Bosnia needs America. Oh yes, by the way, America needs Bosnia and Herzegovina. America now says it needs Ukraine to fight the Russians. But we weren't just fighting the Serbian nationalists. We were also fighting the Russians. And I use the term Russians loosely here because I don't want to abuse anyone's nationality, religion. Let me speak of them as Vladimir Putin's Russians. And by the way, did you know that many of those ultra-nationalist Russians that are now wanting to fire nuclear weapons on Ukraine, they were actually fighting on the Serbian nationalist side 25 years earlier. The guy that shot down the Malaysian airplane over Ukraine several years ago was actually a part of a Serbian paramilitary unit at the start of his career as a terrorist. I remember President Izetbegovic, Dr. Haris Silajdžić, and I meeting with Richard Holbrooke before President Izetbegovic was about to make a speech at the United Nations. And President Izetbegovic was going to press once again for the lifting of the arms embargo. Obviously a problem that Ukraine does not have. And he said, please please, President Izetbegovic, do not ask for the lifting of the arms embargo. We will let you get weapons from anywhere you want behind the scene, even Iran. Even Iran. I confirmed just a few months ago that actually these were instructions given to Holbrooke. Now, what's so wrong about receiving arms from Iran? Well, nothing if that's the only arms you have. But again, they were saying that we, as a diverse society, should be getting help from Muslims so that we could be more defined again as just Muslims. Now, part of this is also this idea that somehow a government made up mostly of Muslims could not play a leading role in a diverse society of Christians and Jews. I remember meeting with President Francois Mitterrand and Dr. Haris Elijich and our ambassador to France. It was an urgent moment when the safe enclaves, Gorazde in particular, was under severe attack. And we went to see President Mitterrand to ask him to do something. And I remember walking into his private offices, it was a Sunday. And Dr. Szilagyi, as is his manner, started saying, blah, 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 blah. Excuse the expression, we must do something to help. And what he said is not particularly relevant. What's relevant is what President Mitterrand said, as the representative of Europe at that time. And he looked at Dr. Szilagyi and he said, it's all your Muslims' fault. It's all your Muslims' fault. He didn't say it's your government's fault, even though he was, of course, wrong about whose fault it was, but he used the term Muslims. And Dr. Szilagyi was caught a little bit off guard, and I then intervened and I said, President Mitterrand, do you know that we do represent all of Bosnia and Herzegovina? We are the government of Bosnia and Herzegovina, internationally recognized as such, including at the United Nations and in France, in Paris. And by the way, do you know that the ambassador, our ambassador to Paris, is a Serb Christian? Sitting next to me was a wonderful man, passed away several years ago, an academic, Nikola Kovac. And Mitterrand looked at him and said, is this true? And in his exquisite French, Ambassador Kovac started to describe why. And Mitterrand cut him off and he said, you're a traitor to your own people. But actually the first secular state in modern Europe was established in the Ottoman times, Suleiman the Magnificent. He took the role of the Sultan, the Caliph, and had then two separate positions underneath it. One was the leader of the faithful, the Rey Solema, from which our own Rey Solema gets his authority, and the other one was the prime vizier, the prime minister. And sometimes those ministers were not Muslims. So the idea that somehow by our Islamic tradition that we are inconsistent with this America, quite to the contrary. We are consistent, but most importantly, we have paid our dues. The problem is we have not been recognized for it. And not only have we not been recognized for it, and have we not had old wrongs made right, they continue to perpetuate the story of Bosnia as a religious conflict. And by the way, those of you who are not from Bosnia and Herzegovina, that's also at your expense. Because
the generalization applies to you. The generalization is that somehow because you are a Muslim, you can be seen as not belonging to the free societies of Europe and particularly America. That somehow you are potentially a threat. Have you ever heard the expression, well, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims? Think about that. Let me just conclude by thanking Imam Hashim, the board, and all you members for welcoming me so much. For those of you who don't know, I've been coming here before, as I said, 50 years, but also on many different occasions, as first the ambassador and foreign minister of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and then as the former. But I think it's important for us to define who we are. And we are the history of this wonderful mosque, but this mosque is just not an Islamic history. It is an American history. And we make America greater. We make America greater. Make America great again? We are making it greater. We are making it greater. And it's not just about other people tolerating us. It is about understanding our contribution. I wanted to focus on this contribution, going back to what we did in a war 30 years ago. But the contribution has been here for over a century. Thank you very much, and I'll leave it.